Hi, this is Catherine, and welcome back to Taking Tea with Catherine. I'm very excited today. I'm drinking my rooibos cinnamon tea because honestly, when I go out to tea, often, especially afternoon tea, if I'm there after 3, which a lot of times I won't be able to have anything caffeinated because I can't. After 3, I will turn into a gremlin. And a very hyper gremlin. So I will drink rooibos. So I thought this was fitting because I'm going to be talking about some locations for afternoon tea. But what I'm really doing now is I am starting a little series of mine. You know how people do tours of their libraries, and maybe I'll do my whole library one day, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm going to focus on 2 of my favorite subjects in the universe, which is tea and books, and I'm going to talk about my tea library. So when I say my tea library, I have basically one of these kind of shelves, and it's down here, so I can't really bring the camera without seeing all kinds of nonsense. I have just a bunch of books about tea rooms, about tea itself, about the history of tea, about design of tea, everything. And I want to show you guys my collection, but I can't show you all of them in one shot because you will be here all night. Unless you want to be listening to me and falling asleep and still having weird dreams about some chick talking about tea books at like 3 in the morning. But, so I'm going to start with books that I have about tea rooms and also just tea locations in general. So we'll try to get through the kind of dull ones as quick as possible. When I say dull, most of them are pretty good, but some of them are a little outdated. I'm going to start with probably, I'm not going to say dull, but the most, I don't understand why I have this book because I think someone must have given it to me. Probably. People say she likes tea, here you go. And that's very nice, by the way. And the picture in the front's cute because it's got a cat and a teapot, but I've never been to this tea house. I've spent very little time in Massachusetts. I am dying to go back to Boston at some point. But I haven't recently in like over a decade. So this is Wenham Tea House Cookbook, written in apparently 1992. But this place is still here, gets pretty decent reviews, occasional not so nice ones about customer service. What else is new in this universe? But it's got a picture of a cat, so that's very cute. So it's got recipes. I don't, you know, if you guys have ever been there, let me know if it's any good. Wonderful. But by the way, a lot of these have recipes, and some of them I've successfully made things out of, so I'm not the worst cook, but recently I've just been batting 0 for 0 and 0 for a billion, really. I can't do baseball metaphors. But, yeah, because I don't know, I'm blaming my oven, I think it's just conked or something, but sometimes these are good ideas anyway, so we're not going to go down on my inability to bake lately. We're going to talk about good things like you guys can do things, baking and whatnot. Oh, I'm so jealous of you. But anyway, so these are 3 books that I have that are just like little guides. Actually, I have 4, but I'm going to show you these 3 really quickly. Little guides to places you want to go. Most of these, again, are outdated that I bought when I say pre-internet, I mean pre-regular access to internet. Maybe I didn't always have a phone near me where I could look things up, so I like these little guides. So I have the New York Book of Tea, Tea in the City, New York, and Best Tea Places in England. This one I must have bought in the Strand Annex, which that particular location, I think, is the one that was on John Street, downtown Manhattan. Hasn't been there in many years, so ancient. These 2 are also quite old, and at some point I went through it and wrote little notes to myself and moved, and now I think it's just closed, and little notes in here, there, and everything everywhere to myself, mostly on Post-its, because I don't usually write in books. I usually use Post-its or pencil if I'm feeling, daring. This is called Taking Tea at the Savoy. I have never been to the Savoy. I have been to the Strand, apparently, but it's just kind of funny because the Savoy in London is on the Strand in London, and this is Strand Bookshop. Nothing to do with each other. Maybe slightly loosely based. I don't know. I think they did name it after the street, but otherwise nothing else. But somehow these things have a way of coming together. I want to go to Savoy someday. I want to do all the fancy afternoon teas, but there's just so much of my budget that I could do. But it's nice to have this book. It's all kind of fancy and pretty, and they have recipes. There's a recipe for muffins. So I can sort of go there in my dreams. All right. This is a great book. I always say that even though there's some good cake you can get in New York, I can't seem to find, unless you go to some places I'm going to mention soon, there's not a lot of places you can go for proper cake that goes well with tea. I can't explain it. A lot of the cakes here are like so rich that you can only drink water with it, for goodness sakes. Or people, or you know, coffee cakes or whatever. I don't know how to explain it, but like by the time you have the cake, you're like, bleh. So, but England, I don't know. They have skills. They have cake skills. And I'm not saying this all around. I'm sure there's places in New York and the rest of the United States that have cake skills, but just not too many that I've found. But the search continues. And so this book is called Tea and Cake London by Zena Al-Kayet. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. But it's a beautiful picture in the front. A lot of these places I look through, and they're still here, even though I've had this book for about 7 years. So, you know, that's great. Peggy Portion is one of the most famous places now. It's a bakery, and they've got 2 locations now. It's fantastic. I got a little bit overwhelmed by the cake when I was there, but that's because I was just eating too many rich things at once, and sometimes you got to know when to stop. But if you are thinking about going to London, or you would love to go but you just can't right now, and you just want to look at something that reminds you of London, this is wonderful. There's no recipes in this one. It's just a guide to tea shops in London that I guess also serve cake, but you know, it's not just about cakes. It's cafes in general, you know. And there's a few places here that I've been to, and so far most of them have been very good. There's a couple of quotes in the back about tea. A proper tea is much nicer than I can really read a quote. A proper tea is much nicer than a very nearly tea, which is one you forget about afterwards. A. Milne. Oh, the mere chink of cups and saucers tunes the mind to happy repose. George Gissing, who we've talked about recently, I think. Anyway, beautiful book, you guys, if you can get a hold of it. Just, sometimes you just want to look at pictures, you know? Okay, the last 3 books are books that were written as recipe books, and some of them are a little memoir-y about 3 tea rooms /tea shops in New York. 2 of which are still here, but the first one is sadly gone. Even though the last couple times I went to this place, it was really tragic and bad, so I guess they had to close. The new management didn't do them any favors. But while it lasted, Teeny was a great place. It was a little more of a modern decor, and Moby was one of the people behind it, and it was just kind of a cute place, and the food was all vegetarian, some vegan. Their cakes were actually pretty good. They had a great tea variety. They were reasonably priced too, you know. The Lower East Side became really trendy around the time when this opened, and so a lot of places were getting pricey, but this was always reasonable. So they've got, you know what, I still have the recipes in here, and there's recipes for food, there's recipes for like beauty products. I'm trying to find a nice picture that's not just a picture of a fruit. But anyway, I got a little soup thing going on here. And just a little story of the place. And you know, sometimes even though it's sad that it's gone, it's kind of nice to relive its better days. I'm nostalgic. All right, so this is the place that I've had this year. I had a little bit of a rough time with because I went there earlier in the year and had a pretty bad customer service situation. But I went there again more recently on my own and had a nice time. So I think some places are just when you go, and if you like a place enough, you'll probably just end up going there again. And I have been to this place for over 25 years, and I am not tired of it, really. And that's Tea and Sympathy. And this book was written in 2002, or at least published in 2002, and I bought it roundabout then as well, later in the year, I think, because I remember buying it with a gift card that my brother-in-law gave me. And he gave it to me in the autumn, so this is how I remember things. And it's by Anita Naughton, who used to be one of the servers there, staff, whatever you call it, and with an introduction and 60 recipes by Nicola Perry, who is still there. She's basically the founder. And it's called The Life of an English Tea Shop in New York. So that's what the place is. It's got all kinds of teas, obviously British teas and drinks and stuff. They actually have, from what I hear, I never tried it. Their coffee isn't so bad either, apparently. But I don't know. Most people don't go there for coffee. They're known for their afternoon teas. They're known for their Sunday roasts, which I've had at least once and was pretty good. They have these pies, like the chicken pies, pot pies as they call them in America, but they make them huge. I don't know. It's weird because in the UK they're usually a little smaller than that. But they make them like Hulk sized, and they're amazing. Their cakes are good. Pretty much everything I've had here was pretty good. The Coronation chicken sandwich I just absolutely love. Victoria sponge sandwich cake, whatever you call it, is just amazing. It's funny because it's like my favorite cake and I still don't know what to call it. And there's just so many good recipes. So sometimes when I don't have time to go there, I can recreate my experience, even though I'm not as well usually. There's all kinds of pictures in here of celebrities that have been there. David Bowie, not replicas. What do you call it? Impersonators of the Queen. Apple crumble. Yeah, so there's recipes for almost all of the best dishes there. And so if you live maybe further away than New York, but not the UK, because if you're in the UK, you already have the British stuff. Or who knows. But maybe you're missing this place somehow and you just want to have one of their recipes. Great book, also great story. So, win-win. So the last one I'm going to show you is also a great tea room. It's an American tea room, even though it's based on Alice in Wonderland themed situations. Lots of kids are enjoying themselves there. There's all kinds of like fairy wings that kids can wear, some of the staff wear, the waiters, whatever. I don't know what anybody's called anymore. Glitter, you can put it on the kids. I guess if you're an adult, you can too. I don't know. Again, these two places are not cheap. They're a little pricey to me, but not impossibly so. You can probably work it into your budget, because I've been to both of these places when I've been in not great financial situations and still managed to have a good time. So, So this Alice's Teacup, their scones are not like the British scones, you know what I mean? They're not those little, they're almost more cakey, and their cream is a little more like whipped cream, but still amazing. Their pumpkin ones are my favorites, and I was able to recreate or make my own from this recipe, and I did it so successfully, so yay. And they have a lot of great foods. They also have afternoon tea. Their food isn't as British. They have like sandwiches and stuff too, and soups, whatever. But yeah, their afternoon tea is one of their big things. And yeah, they're usually named, I think they're all named after Alice in Wonderland themed things. Like they have a Mad Hatter afternoon tea, they have a Jabberwocky, and there's something else too. I think it's called like a Little Nibble or something. Something like that for if you're a little bit hungry. They have kids menus, which is great. And this is not as much about the story of the place. They may have a little introduction, but it's mostly the recipes. There's the pumpkin scones. So good. So definitely a great book and a great restaurant. There's a few locations, but I'm not here to advertise that. I'm just going over the books that I have in my library. And I hope you've enjoyed this little tour, part 1. And if you like these tours, and if you'd like me to keep continuing, which I'm probably going to do anyway, but if you'd like me to, just let me know. If you like my channel, please subscribe. If you have any other books that are based on tea rooms of any kind, especially ones that I haven't been to, I don't know if the Muffin Man in London has their own book, but I'm sure there are places in London that do have their own book. I'm sure Peggy Portion must by now. Any suggestions? I'm always open to them, although right now I'm not buying too many tea books, but I'm never stopping my hauling, so you never know. Or if you've read any of these books, or thumbed through them, because not all of them are like sitting and reading in an armchair type of books, or if you've been at any of these restaurants, whether they're here today or gone tomorrow or gone yesterday, let me know, because, I love to talk about these things, and my sister Bonnie, who comments down below quite often, has been to most of these places anyway. So what do you think, Bonnie? Shout out right there. Anyway, so I hope you have a lovely day. My cat just attacked me. He's telling me to wrap it up, and he's right. Hope you have a lovely day, and hope to see you again real soon.